Well, obviously, fun plane ride home Saturday night. Give a lot of credit to our guys, keep believing, and obviously the film on Sunday. A lot of correctable moments, a lot of things that we did in that game that we don't normally do. We were winning that game. I was made the point to our players as well as some other people that I think we were the eighth least penalized team in the country. They were number 7. We had, I believe, 11, and they had 8. So two teams played uncharacteristically high penalties. Did enough things in that game to obviously to cause it to be close, and then even the ball bounces the wrong way, a loss. So had those moments kind of in the Minnesota game, to be honest, and thought we had corrected some of that stuff, but really made a big point of that yesterday. I thought our team was very coachable yesterday, so took full advantage of that. Recognized several of our players MVPs, and then today also to have Pat Bryant get named literally at 1 o'clock right here as the co-MVP of the league offensively is pretty awesome for him. Luke also got recognized nationally as a quarterback on a couple different awards, so really excited for those guys going forward. It's that time of the year when those awards will start rolling through the nominations. Just to have our guys up for those type of situations is pretty awesome. Several years in a row now we've had players up for national awards. Excited for that. Injury-wise, Zachary Franklin was cleared for the game. Unfortunately, got basically a soft tissue that happened during the course of the game. It wasn't before, so I do think he'll be ready to go. I don't know if we'll have him for practice tomorrow, but he should be good Wednesday, Thursday. Joe Barna, we didn't take on a trip. He was really close. We thought he would actually do better rehab and staying at home, and he actually is going to do some running this afternoon. Do expect him to be in practice tomorrow in some capacity. Kanana Odalaga, we took on a trip last week. Thought we might get him to be there for the game. Wasn't quite there. Didn't want to push our luck on that one. Same thing with Malik Elsie. Brought him along. Thought he would be have a chance to possibly play, but wasn't able to do it. 2 injuries during the course of the game. Seth Coleman, literally in conversations with the medical people about where he's at. Don't know if it's going to be realistic for Saturday. And then obviously because he's a senior where he is, don't know where that's going to play out for the rest of the time. But extremely excited in Seth and what he did. I thought he's done an unbelievable job leadership-wise. Obviously on the football field, just couldn't be happier for him and what he accomplished in this year. We'll see where that's going to lay a little bit more later this week. And then Fabrizio Penton, Breezy has done a really good job in relief for us for a couple different years. Gave him the starting opportunity last week. And then unfortunately, we knew Rutgers liked to bring a lot of pressure. They leaked one through and didn't get the punt, but did get his plant foot as he rolled through. So I don't know where he'll be at for this game. But I do think bowl game-wise he'll be back for that. But unfortunately, don't know if we'll have him for this week. So with that being said, Northwestern, obviously a trophy game, something that we've made a big point of around here since we came. To be an 8-3 football team, there's still a lot out there, a lot of things to be determined, not only by us, but the people around us. Super excited to play in Wrigley. I've grew up a Cubs fan, as you guys know, sang there a couple times, and to be able to play there against a team that got a lot of respect for Coach Braun, and obviously all that he did last year, Big Ten Coach of the Year, and everything that he's embodied since he got there speaks well and volumes for them. A lot of really good players, a lot of crossover. A lot of our players went to high school together or competed against one another. We got a lot of Chicago area players on our team, a lot of family, and then a lot of fans, right? So I'm excited to see where we're at from a crowd standpoint. Obviously, watch the Ohio State game. The only other game to be played there this year under those situations was last year, the Iowa game, but they kind of changed the dynamics of the sidelines and everything. So a little bit different this year for the visiting teams, but another great opportunity for us to play and see where we go from there. With that, open up for questions.
You mentioned the CFP, kind of where you are. How much of that are you looking into? Your kind of, I know that's not in your hands.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
Well, I would say going to the Minnesota game, obviously we were at a certain point and unfortunately weren't able to win that game, but I did know at that point there'd be narrative about potentially 3 lost teams being in the CFP. I thought we would have a chance to earn our way back into the rankings. I know Bret's brought it to my attention, several other people. I got dialogue from other coaches, right? I watch that stuff. You look good. For me personally, I've watched, a lot was written about it the week we played Kansas, but Lance Leipold and I have been a very close friends for a long time. Played these 2 back-to-back games, so had some conversations after our game, and I just kind of been silently cheering for those guys, and they've gotten on a little bit of a streak here, and obviously, I forget who they beat. They beat somebody who was ranked on Saturday. Colorado, right? So that's 2 in a row, and I think if they win this week, they become bowl eligible. Beat Rutgers, who's a bowl eligible team. Michigan State's 1 game away. Minnesota's a bowl eligible team. So I know some people have given me dialogue, but really what we got to do is take care of Saturday. But the dialogue is out there, and for that I respect. We unfortunately had 3 losses on the year, but it's happened before. So I did tell our guys when that happened that's something that was still in the bag of tricks.
I've never asked you this,
Yeah.
but are you a fan of the 12-team thing?
I do. I just think just look what's happening right now. There's just so much banter. I know that for me personally. So long picture, big picture. As coaches, we're asked to vote on the coaches poll every year. And one of the things that I took an inventory of when I was out of the game, I'd voted on the coaches poll every time they asked me to do it, and I did it. But I would always be skewed in the way I looked at the poll, right? I would be skewed in because I always thought my team was better than it probably was. Even going back to when we were top 10 at Wisconsin, when we began, there was a year when we got ranked in the CFP for the first time at Arkansas, and I probably had our team 8 to 10 spots above everybody else, right? And I think it's just natural that when you're invested personally, it's kind of like parents, right? When I'm dealing with kids and they're going through situations and maybe a parent feels they should be playing more than they are or whatever it is, I always say, listen, I get it. You're supposed to be biased, right? I got 2 girls that dance, right? And to me, they're the best ones on the stage every time I go watch them, right? I think as parents, no matter what our walk of life, we always view our children in a way that's probably higher than others, right? Like I know I'm hard on my kids, I get it, but I always see them probably in an elevated light more than I see others, right? And in the same way, I realized that when I was a college football coach, I always voted my team, but also the teams that I had played against in a different light. And I think it's hard for people to objectively vote when they don't have personal involvement, right? And that's why I think the CFP, hats off. I know we got, obviously Ward Manuel is in a huge position, being a Big Ten guy, but also I know Mike Riley is on the voting committee. Several guys, Coach Pinkel at Missouri, I've known him for a long time. Those guys are on that CFP. I know there's a lot of dialogue about 8 and 3 teams. I saw certain things pop up about certain games that the teams in the SEC compared to our 3 losses. We lost two teams, one in number 4, and lost a very hard-fought game to Minnesota, who's bowl eligible in a position. So I think it's hard for people to step back and collectively look at this new world of college football objectively. It's really hard for people to see that. And for that's somebody else's problem right now. I just got to worry about Northwestern.
What stands out about Northwestern to you as
Yeah,
far as
3 things.
their identity, offensive and defensive?
Yeah, I think 3 things. Coaches, installed a certain mentality there of physicality on offense, defense, special teams, and it really, I think shows up throughout the course of the year. I know they, have had different results throughout, but that's there offensively. They definitely can run the football. Quarterback is a very accurate, very, very mobile guy that does things defensively. They carry over a lot of what Coach brought when he got there as a defense coordinator. I think that's really neat. So those 3 things, I think, combined kind of make up who they are in 2024.
Right, with you being 9-4 the last 2 years in 1-score games, with what you can control in your building, why do you think you're so successful in that?
Well, in my opinion, not successful enough. I'd rather have all of them, right? I've been in, especially when I was away from the game, when I was away from college football in the NFL, I really went into a deep dive of why games are lost and won, and that's probably been one of the more driving forces of my day-to-day routine as a head coach. Really, I know we're trying to win the game, but I say this all the time: more games are lost than won. And there's sometimes there's some very easy things to point to, but also there's some things that are very easy to point why you can have success. I think the attitude, approach, and demeanor of our quarterback and our offense in the end of game scenarios is off the charts and way confident. I remember they were driving on Saturday, and I usually stay on the headset of whatever unit's on the field, offense, defense, special teams. And I clicked over to Barry, and because basically at the end of game there, we had 2 timeouts, and they were coming out of the 2 minute out of a break that the clock was going to start because of an injury. And I basically said, hey, if they're at the line of scrimmage and they look like they're going to milk the clock for 40 seconds, I'm going to burn a timeout. But they got up there and they were anxious. I could tell they were going to snap the ball, so I chose not to snap. They obviously scored with over a minute left, and I was very glad that I didn't burn that timeout because that saved me 2, which we needed in the fullest extent, on that game-winning drive. So situational football, like I'm sure if you ask my wife, like I watch a lot of, she always like, we're not watching football, right? Like, so the reason I like to watch games I'm not involved in is because then I get to learn with it, right? So I don't care, Division 1, 2, 3, NFL, Canadian League, Arena League. Like, I love to watch things that I've never seen before because then I get to play that moment like I've never played it. And you get to see how things play out. And that's probably one of my driving forces.
Right. In the event Seth wouldn't be available
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday, Joe Barney, you mentioned, would be back. And like, what have you seen from him and even JoJo, who could maybe be guys who step into a bigger role?
Yeah, I thought JoJo, you know, he had, I think it was somewhere around 20 reps on Saturday and was very productive. He's a different change of pace guy. We use him to the field a little bit. But he would be a guy that definitely, and then I know we didn't see Daniel Brown, but he literally didn't get cleared until Thursday. We didn't know if we were going to even be able to travel him. But then just because of some injuries at the other one, we opted to travel him. He got cleared. It was kind of one of those, he's going to go, and if he does feel okay the next morning, we're going to keep moving forward. It's kind of at that point. But he was very excited yesterday. We'll practice tomorrow. But I think the combination platter of Daniel Brown, Joe Barna, and then Demetrius John has had a hamstring. I think those three guys, if I could kind of pool them together to create one healthy body in three different phases of the kicking game, or three different phases of the game, we'll have that. And then, you know, obviously Alec and Gabe will be our two featured guys, and you know, those other guys will just fill into roles.
I'm curious how your defense, I mean, whatever Seth's status is, and Dylan, those are two captains on
Yeah.
that side of the ball. So who has maybe found a voice over the course of this season who wasn't a captain, but now it's really in the
Hands down,
spotlight?
T. Rod Edwards, and you know, I won't. One of the things I try to do as a coach is not protect our players, but don't put them in tough moments, right? I'll never forget when I was talking with Fitz about how T. Rod had reached out to him, right? Like T. Rod had a tremendous amount of respect for Pat and what he had done, and I always think about him when I go into this game. I don't really bring it up. I don't bring him around. I had him speak 2 weeks ago because we'll have seniors talk in this week, and I didn't want to put T-Rod in that spot, but he just had an incredible game on Saturday. This is probably 3 straight weeks of him playing his best football. So I think T-Rod's voice on defense has definitely been enhanced during the course of this year, but especially without D. Rose. I just had D. Rose in my office about an hour ago, and we were talking about the arrival. You know, James Kreutz really did some things during the course of that game were pretty impressive. I cannot imagine being Owen Kreutz watching two of his boys play at an incredibly high level performing-wise. Like just, I obviously, you know, was involved with the Watt brothers. I got to coach JJ and Derek, and then I got to watch TJ was involved in recruitment. I know when I see some of these ads now with John and Connie Watt, like his parents, how proudful they have to be of the way their kids have, you know, not just in football, just succeeded in life. And to see Josh and James Kreutz play at a high level on a good football team as parents, I can't imagine his mom and dad. And so I think James, you heard him a little bit Saturday, and then the other one that hands down stood out big time was Matt Bailey. I think especially Miles, you know, he's coming back from you know, he was suspended in the first half, also dealing with a little soft tissue, right? Like his voice hasn't been as strong, but I think him and then you know, Xavier's a quiet guy, but a good guy. I mean, hell, no, I'm going to tell you now. Like, listen, I get it. Like, we're playing our 12th regular season game, and I'm going through and I'm trying to have guys talk, seniors. I don't have a lot of seniors. Like, I literally am blown away. Like, some people have told me we've got the second or third fewest amount of seniors in all of Power 4 football. Like, we got a lot of really good players. I realized it before the year started, but we had brought in an influx of so many guys I was trying to get. But our roster is so sophomore and junior dominant. It's incredible the amount of players that we have coming back that will be able to, you know, hopefully take this thing and go forward.
Since they've addressed the sideline thing that you had maybe some questions about at Wrigley, is there anything else with playing in a baseball stadium that you have to change, like game-to-day operations?
Well, I do think the walls sneak up on you a little quicker, right? Like just the dynamics. It's a baseball stadium, so I mean, we looked at that extensively. Normally, we don't go to a visiting stadium unless it's something a little bit out of the unusual or someplace we've never been, right? So we'll actually start our prep pretty early Friday morning here, and then we're going to go to Wrigley just because not only the field itself, the dynamics around it, the amount of travel that you have to do from the field to the halftime locker room. They've actually extended our halftime 3 minutes. So normally halftimes are 20 minutes. It's going to be 23 minutes on Saturday. They used they used 22 last year and increased it to 23 this year versus Ohio State, and they thought that I apparently hit the sweet spot. Mark Torresani, my chief of staff, he's been incredibly engaged in this moment. A lot of feedback from coaches that have been to Wrigley, both this year and years past. I reached out to Kirk last year during the out of season because they had played that game there, so I had a lot of conversations with Kirk in that regard. So yeah, there's some dynamics that need to be navigated in this one, but again, it's just going to be 11 guys on the field. But I think there's some things around the stadium you got to be ready for.
And on their final drive on Saturday, they had like a 4th and 10, and their quarterback ran out. What would you see on that drive that allowed them to move, and what kind of happened to allow him to pick up that first down?
Well, 4th and 10 could have been stopped on a 3rd and 10 interception, but that didn't happen. So we went to 4th and 10, and we ran a game to our right, and unfortunately that opened up some space to our left side, and that quarterback I thought was a very what I'd say he takes advantage of rushes, right? Like he was a very intelligent. I really liked that quarterback. Obviously, played him last year at Minnesota. He's a guy that just very intelligent, good football awareness. So that was there. In addition to that, I thought they did a really good job of just capitalize on moments. The quarterback took off again on a 2-man, and then on another call that allowed him to make ground with his feet. We had everybody covered up and thought some good things, but really good learning lessons for us, to put that in. And then obviously the running back snuck out on the last play there that in reality probably helped us because he scored very quickly, and then obviously that played into the end.
Allmeyer's orchestrated multiple game-winning drives. Now, what intangibles does he bring where he can thrive in those situations?
Yeah, really good question. I would say two things jump out to me. His accuracy is very, like, even he would probably tell you he was a little bit off on Saturday. There was a post route, right? But there was a lot of wind. Like Luke won't look for excuses, but that wind was, believe me, I was a little chilly. I got home, took the longest hot I showered just because it was a chilly day there, and all that goes into it. And I thought the wind really affected the ball at times. But Luke's just premium on how accurate he is. And then, he takes a lot of, he holds that ball to the last second and then gets hit. Like he's taking a lot of shots on those last drives, so we got to do a better job of protecting him. Case in point Saturday, even on that last touchdown, there was he didn't need to take that hit. We had everybody protected, and then we had a guy fall off, which opened up a seam on it. So I think the accuracy of him, but also like Luke, probably a deeper dive for an out of season conversation with him, but he really puts a lot into his preparation. And I think at the end of half and end of game scenarios, he is prepared so much for those moments. He knows what's probably going to happen better than the coordinator he's going against. He really, truly, when I hear him with conviction talk about what he's going to see and what he expects them to do, he does a really good job. I've given him clips where he'll actually infer what he sees another team do, knows what we're strong at, and he'll kind of guess at what the defense might do, and that's played out pretty good. So, and then just the confidence of the players around him. I don't think there's any doubt. Pat Bryant took the field not only on that 4th and 13, but also just the presence and understanding of where he needed to go. Like obviously we were in a church situation, but I think he kind of did a stutter step to get that guy to go high to get to the boundary, and then he got around that edge, and he's like, oh shoot, I can get in here, right? And then great awareness of Colin Dixon. Really, all three of those guys were open. To be quite honest, if he'd thrown it to Colin, it would have been a straight shot in the end zone. So there was a couple plays there, or that route itself was very well conceptually designed by Barry. We had actually used that same exact play in a game winner for us when we were together at Arkansas. So that plays worked pretty well.
Was Pat? Was there a thought that he should go down and kick the field goal, or on the catch?
Yeah. So when you're in that situation where you have no timeouts. We have a certain scenario that we call it, and then if he is surrounded or if he can't get to the end zone, we definitely want him to take a knee. We did make the point, right, for us, we have constant learning that if it's 3 seconds or more, you can take a kill. If not, you have to run the play, right? So we go through that situation every Thursday, and I think he was very in tune with it. And again, like I said, when he did that stutter step to get around the edge, he realized he now had the end zone. He had 4 seconds to spare. It was kind of interesting. On Fridays, we do, as coaches, we do a Bible study, and we had actually just studied the book of Philippians, and Jason Epperson's last conversation with us as coaches was Philippians 4:13, and number 13 scored with 4 seconds on the clock, and it kind of just brought Terrence Jamison brought that to my attention Sunday, and just kind of this has been a very special season for a lot of different reasons, and I think the growth that our team has come together. I think especially Pat Bryant, and you look at Zachary Franklin, you look at Colin Dixon, you look at Hank Beatty, you look at Kapka Jones, the effect that Justin Stepp has had in the wide receiver room is overwhelmingly positive, and the effect that he's had on our staff with Coach Lunny on the offensive staff. We scored, I believe, our last 5 possessions on Saturday, and for that to happen, that's a very cohesive staff that has a cohesive relationship with their players, and then the results are what we see.
Distinct things up front.
What's up?
Have you seen distinct things up front, especially in the run game, that have allowed you guys to be able to especially run the football?
Well, I think Saturday we had an idea of what we were able to do. Northwestern plays a certain type of front that they kind of that's Greg's deal. That's what they do. I thought our guys did a really nice job of game planning that. They made some adjustments in the third and fourth quarter that I thought took some things away, and then we made some adjustments off that. So that was there. But I give a lot of really good credit. Especially the 3 that are kind of survived, right? So between Aiden Lawfrey, Josh McCray, and Khalil Valentine, there was about 2 hits where Khalil almost popped one. Like, I've been kind of waiting for that moment because we've seen it in practice. And Josh was 9 for 9 at point of attack on third down protections. Like, he was, even that last play, you see him stand up, and now Rutgers now they got some grown boy linebackers, right? They got big boys that bring it, and Josh stepped up there and not only blocked him, he stoned him. I thought that was a really huge key to the game, and that's why we gave him. He was one of our MVPs.
Right. Last one. I feel like we've seen Terrence Brooks traveled in the past with
Yeah.
you guys, and he didn't make the trip. Is that injury related, or what went behind?
No, that one was not injury related. It was just more production related, and there's certain things we believe in, and I felt it was best to leave him at home for that one. But there were some other things that had popped up. We were thin. We've been traditionally a little bit heavy in the DB room. We could have taken him, but because we were thin in the outside linebacker room, we had to bring a couple guys that weren't offensive line wise too. And what I would say, coaching gives you a lot of fulfillment. But when you see guys, right, like Zy Chrysler was a guy that was going into that game as a 2. Brandon Henderson cramped up a little bit. I think Brandon only played 24 snaps. And Zy Chrysler went in there and answered the bell, not just for himself, but for all of us. Kapka Jones, right? Like, Zachary practiced all week, but I know you guys interviewed Cap on Tuesday. Like, his outlook, his energy, his excitement, his passion for his teammates is just intoxicating, like the way it makes you feel, right? Like in the way you see those guys. So, T. Brooks is a guy that we've been waiting to come on, and we knew coming off the bench there had been some things coming on. It just hadn't gone as well as we wanted, the way we wanted to prepare. So, but there are a lot of great examples and I thought specifically Saturday, I don't know if we'd be an 8-3 football team if Zy Chrysler and Kapka Jones hadn't risen to the challenge of what they needed to do Saturday in the drop of a hat in the middle of a Big Ten football game against a very good opponent. And you look at college football, there's been a lot of teams that haven't had those moments, and to know that I'm the head coach of a team that those guys have popped up when it really, really mattered, that's pretty awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.